Hello there, my name is James Harrington, and if Spanish football is for you, then this is the place to be. Today we'll be previewing Matchday 32 in La Liga. Well, let's look at the La Liga table after the most recent round of fixtures. The top four remains unchanged after all four teams won their respective fixtures. Osasuna move into 9th after an impressive 3-1 victory at El Sadar versus Valencia. Defeats for Levante, Celta Vigo and Cadiz see them all drop a place down the table. Alaves climb up to 16th after a huge win versus Villarreal. And finally, at the bottom of the table, and now seemingly being cut adrift from the other relegation sides, Eibar occupied 20th spot after losing 4-1 versus Granada, now conceding 9 goals in 2 matches. Well, let's look back at those fixtures I previewed last episode. Starting with Elche versus Valladolid. Now this one ended 1-1. Elche took the lead from a Peremia brilliant pass into the path of Fidel, who scored the goal. However, unfortunately for Elche, in the 86th minute, Lucas Oilaza of Valladolid got the leveller. Now, in the previous episode, if you remember, I talked about Valladolid's problems of closing games out. So this was a rarity that they were the ones to do that late punch. Elche did have a chance to make it 2-0 earlier on with Rigoni, but he unfortunately missed that opportunity. Looking at the Elche players after the match, there was such despair, such disappointment on their faces, knowing that they've dropped 2 crucial points against relegation rivals. Unfortunately for both sides, Alaves, a fellow relegation rival, picked a surprising 2-1 win versus Villarreal. Now Javier Calleja, the new manager, has picked up 7 points from a possible 9, and he really is having an impact. Seemingly the toxic atmosphere that was reported in the media, the toxic atmosphere reported at Alaves, is no longer there, and he's had a real positive impact, and that has to worry the likes of Elche and Valladolid. Well, the other game that I previewed was Barcelona versus Getafe, and this was a strange one. The result ended 5-2 Barcelona. Now Messi had a great performance that night. 2 goals and assist. He gave Barcelona the lead to make it 1-0 earlier on. However, Clement Lenglet gave away an own goal. But this wasn't the most comical own goal of the night. Shackler, the Getafe centre-half, effectively passed the ball into the back of his own net, past David Soria, which made the game 2-1 to Barcelona. Messi made it 3-1 before the first half was out, but when the second half started, it got a bit nervy after Ronald Araujo gave away a penalty and Enes Unal converted. It wasn't until the 87th minute where Barcelona made it 4-2 with a Messi corner kick and a Ronald Araujo header, and then in the 93rd minute, Griezmann converted a penalty to mean Barcelona were victorious 5-2. Getafe's defence was pretty poor in the second half actually, with a lot of space in behind which Barcelona were able to exploit. This was a vital 3 points in the Liga title race, and the next match they're on the road going to the Ceramica to play Villarreal, which I'm sure will be a tough fixture. Well, let's look at the Liga fixtures this weekend and what are my pick of the fixtures. Well, one of them has to be Real Madrid versus Real Betis. Now, Real Madrid go into this match after a 3-0 victory against Cadiz. And what a performance it was, getting 3 goals in the space of 10 minutes between the 30th and the 40th. Karim Benzema getting 2 of those goals and providing an assist. And what a performance he put in. He's clearly in the hunt for his first Pichichi trophy, that's the Liga top scorer, since he's moved to the capital. The other goal came from Odriozola, the right back. Now, I believe that was his first goal for Los Blancos. After it went 3-0, it effectively killed the game off. However, the main talking point about this match was actually the events that happened before kick-off, and that was the protest outside the stadium directed at Real Madrid for the European Super League. Now, there's been a lot of flack about this competition since its inception, and Real Madrid's president, Florentino Perez, is seen as a key architect and driving force behind it. Whilst the project has been seen to have failed, or as Florentino Perez put it, is on standby, there's still a lot of anger directed at Los Blancos. But what was really interesting about this match, once it got underway, was Zinedine Zidane's selection choices and what this means for the match against Real Betis. Zinedine Zidane went for a back 3 of Militao, Nacho and Varane, and they put in a really strong performance against Cadiz, and that will give Zidane great comfort because Betis pose an even bigger attacking threat than Cadiz, with the likes of Christian Teo's surging runs, Joaquin's brilliant crosses, or just the aerial threat of Borja Iglesias. Moving on from the centre-halves, you've got to then look at the full-backs. Now, Real Madrid went with Odriozola on the right, and he's effectively become the right-back of choice since Lucas Vazquez got a long-term injury. But the main thing is around Marcelo. Now, the Brazilian has been a brilliant servant to Los Blancos. That is no question. However, this season, what's become apparent, especially in comparison to Mondi, is his defensive inabilities. Especially, he's great going forward, but he leaves a lot of space in behind, which teams try and exploit. And that's what the Cadiz manager said. That was one of his key targets throughout the match. However, they didn't execute it particularly well. But the likes of Emerson and Moreno of Real Betis will probably have great success if Marcelo is to feature on the weekend. Moving from the defence into the midfield, there was no Kroos and no Modric. Now, they've played so many games this season. Clearly fatigue is playing a part in this, but so they gave a full La Liga debut to Ruben Blanco, the 20-year-old, and he put in a really competent performance. Sitting a bit deeper and allowing Casemiro to push further forward, it'd be interesting to see if he keeps a spot this weekend, with Modric rumoured to be fit. Then looking at the front three, Vinicius Jr. is having I think a really good campaign, and I've talked about how great Benzema has been, but Rodrigo as well put in a good performance against Cadiz, and it'll be interesting to see if he keeps a spot this weekend against Betis, or if Zinedine Zidane will bring in the likes of Marcus Asensio to fill out wide. Other interesting selection news for Zinedine Zidane, especially going to this game against Real Betis, and with one eye on the match against Chelsea in the Champions League, Dani Carvajal got some minutes under his belt. Now, Dani Carvajal's campaign has been blighted by injuries, only making 13 appearances. However, getting some valuable minutes against Cadiz was great. I don't think he'll feature against Real Betis, probably has him in mind to start against Chelsea. Also for Real Madrid, there'll be no Fede Valverde this weekend due to having tested positive for COVID-19. And another player where there's question marks around if he'll feature is Eden Hazard, who's coming back from another one of his injuries. Now let's look at the opposition, Manuel Pellegrini's Real Betis. Arguably one of the most informed teams in 2021. However, there's been a slight wobble, hasn't there? The draw against Athletic Club 0-0 meant that is the fourth straight draw for Los Verde Blancos. Now let's just focus in on that game in particular. Now you might think 0-0 at home versus Athletic Club, a team who've been affected by 2 Copa Del Rey finals in 2 weeks, that slight hangover, it should have been a win for Real Betis. But it's not that easy. After 10 minutes, Nabil Fekir got a red card. So for 80 minutes, they played with 10 men. And they gave Athletic Club a real good game. So actually, it's a result that you can applaud. A fair draw. Talking about the selection choices going into the match against Real Madrid and how that red card is going to affect Real Betis. Now, Nabil Fekir, it's been widely recognised that the outputs haven't been to the level that Real Betis fans had hoped. This campaign, he's got 4 goals, 5 assists, and whilst he hasn't reached the lofty heights that many people had dreamed for, his ability to unlock unpicked defences is a real asset for Real Betis going forward. So what does that mean now? If you don't have Nabil Fekir, who do you play? Do you play Joaquin, who is an experienced pro and has played in a number of fixtures against Real Madrid over the years, so knows what it takes to beat Real Madrid and has an excellent cross on him? Do you play Diego Lainez, the Mexican who's having a better season than last for his intricate attacking play? Do you push Sergio Canales further forward behind the striker, most likely to be Borja Iglesias, because Sergio Canales is able to kind of merge the 2 lines between midfield and attack? And then does that mean you bring in Andres Guardado in place for Canales if he's pushed further forward as that defensive midfielder to partner Guido Rodriguez? Actually, I don't feel like I talk about Guido Rodriguez enough when I talk about Real Betis and what an asset he's been this season. And you can understand why he's been linked with moves to Arsenal. Guido Rodriguez will be really important in this fixture. He leads the team for tackles leading to possession, he leads the team for pressures of the opposition, he leads them for blocks, and he's also the second highest for interceptions, only behind Emerson. A real stalwart in that midfield. Look, for Real Betis at the moment, the objective is European football, and it'd be brilliant if they can achieve it, considering where they started this campaign and how they finished the last one. They currently sit 6th, but it's not easy. It's not going to be easy for them. They have Villarreal breathing down their neck, and at a push, they have Granada, who have a chance of qualifying for the Europa League once again. So what is my prediction for this match between Real Betis and Real Madrid? Well, I think Real Madrid are going to emerge victorious and they're going to win this game 2-1. With it being at home and Real Madrid undefeated in the last 12 La Liga games, I think all 3 points are going to go to Zinedine Zidane and his men. Well, let's talk about Atletico Madrid versus Athletic Club. Starting with Atletico Madrid. Now, they're currently sitting top of the La Liga table after putting together back-to-back wins against Eibar and Huesca, which is great news for Los Rojiblancos fans because their campaign started to unravel a bit, in particular after their 1-1 draw against Real Betis, where eyebrows were being raised. But focus on this match against Huesca, what was interesting is the choice of formation, and will Diego Simeone keep this for the game against Athletic Club? He's moved away from his 3-5-2, what he's adopted this season in large part, back to the traditional 4-4-2. Now, in the first half, Huesca were being absolutely tormented by Renan Lodi. The fullback was getting in behind the likes of Mikel Rico, and he was just a threat throughout. But it wasn't until the 38th minute where Atletico Madrid were able to get the breakthrough. And how Correa getting the goal after Koke from deep sprayed the ball out wide to Trippier, who then combined with Marcos Llorente, as he always does, who then got the ball to Correa and deflected goal, shot, and it went in. Now the first half was really exciting from Atletico Madrid. They completely imposed themselves on Huesca, and Huesca were largely being swept aside. When the second half rolled around, it wasn't as pulsating as the first. Carrasco, though, doubled Atletico Madrid's lead in the 79th minute. Again, Marcos Llorente being instrumental in the goal. Now, what does this all mean for the game against Athletic Club? How is Diego Simeone going to line up? Well, he has to keep playing Angel Correa. Angel Correa is a player that previously I had concerns about, was he too defensive minded to be a striker? However, 3 goals in the past 2 games have squashed all those concerns. And he got a king of the match for the game against Huesca, so he has to start against Athletic Club. Next question is, do you bring back Luis Suarez? Now, Graham Hunter made a brilliant point when commentating on the match, saying how he felt that Atletico Madrid are much more fluid in the 4-4-2 without Suarez, because you really need to feed the ball into his feet. And I agree with him. However, with Suarez being the top scorer, having missed the last 3 matches, you're likely going to see him featuring against Athletic Club. Then we go to the back line. Now, the 4 defenders in this game put in a sublime performance, nullifying any real threat posed by Rafa Mir, who's been in red-hot form for Pacheta this season, and Okazaki. Sandro came on in the second half and a bit more success, but no major impact. And it was largely a quiet night for Oblak. Will he keep this back line? Well, the only problem being for Diego Simeone was that Jimenez has now got an accumulation of yellow cards. So will he pick either Hermoso or Felipe to start against Athletic Club? After the game, Diego Simeone, as he always is, was very coy. Game by game, they will take the season as it goes on. They've got some very tough fixtures coming up, but getting a win against Athletic Club and then getting a win against Elche will put them in good stead when they have to travel to the Camp Nou to play Barcelona. So let's talk about the opposition, Athletic Club, and what a tough time they've been having of late. Losing 2 Copa del Rey finals in 2 weeks isn't easy to take, so there's bound to be a lot of disappointment in that dressing room. Now, I've talked about how they've just drawn to Real Betis 0-0, and that really is a disappointing result from the side from the Basque region. Having played most of the game with 1-man advantage, Claudio Bravo, admittedly, did make some good saves from Lopez and Garcia, and Villalibre did have a good opportunity that hit the woodwork, but Marcelino would have really liked his side to pick the 3 points. Admittedly, it must be really hard to motivate your team at the moment, where there's nothing really to play for. They've got no chance of qualifying for Europe, and they're just going to have to settle for really mid-table mediocrity. It must be hard to get that team going once again. Now, looking ahead to the game against Atletico Madrid, they did not have the likes of Munayin, no Bechichi against Real Betis, and it's likely they won't feature against Atletico Madrid, so they are huge losses for Marcelino. And there was no Williams to start, but he did come on, and I didn't realise how close he is to the record of consecutive La Liga appearances. He's currently on 188, and the record is 202, so he's bound to play some role against Atletico Madrid. Look, Marcelino has to say to his team, whilst we've got nothing really to play for now, we could have a role in the La Liga title race, and getting a victory over Atletico Madrid will mean that they're kind of dictating the agenda at the top of the table. In other news, kind of moving away from this game against Atletico Madrid, Marcelino has been rumoured with a Tottenham job. Where has that come from? Jose Mourinho recently got sacked by Daniel Levy, and supposedly he's tipped Marcelino as one of his prime candidates for the position. However, I don't see this coming off. It took the Bilbao board so long to convince Marcelino to be their manager. I will be shocked if he throws in the towel now. So what is my prediction? I'm going to go with a 2-1 win for Atletico Madrid. Look, Bilbao are winless in 8 matches, and they haven't won a Liga match since March. And as well, there seems to be some renewed vigour about Cholo and his team, so I think all 3 points are going to go to Atletico Madrid. Well, that's it for this week. Thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy the video, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, and why not give a thumbs up? It's greatly appreciated. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.